That's right, Dana. It is time for our financial focus. And of course, our financial analyst, Steve Budin, now joins me now. And Steve, as we just heard from that press conference there, obviously, President Trump's first week on the job has some financial implications here.
Lots more than I had expected. Clearly, the first item of business this morning for President Trump, he met with some manufacturing leaders. We'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
But what's interesting about his first week, keep an eye on it, is what are his priorities? You know, he's meeting with lots of different folks. He's signing executive orders. He's focusing on things that he campaigned on. And like it or not, this is what he's doing.
Yeah, like we saw a number of things already. He's bailed on the TPP, the trade deal that he said he would during the campaign. We saw him sort of follow through on that promise today. What to you does that indicate?
Yeah, and I think the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, it's an Asian trade agreement that was negotiated by the prior administration. It hasn't been enacted yet. So through executive order, he was able to basically say we're not going to follow through. And the big thing to keep in mind here, though, is there's a big difference between executive orders and legislation. So for him to sign a piece of paper saying we are now out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it's a lot different than something called NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which is a law.
Right.
So we just can't back out of that. That's a legally passed piece of legislation that would have to be changed for us to change any of those terms. So he's going to come out and talk tough on a lot of that. Just important for the viewers to understand that a lot of what he's saying can't just be changed with the stroke of a pen.
But one other thing that he did change with the stroke of the pen is the hiring freeze
Yes.
that he implemented in the federal government.
Yes, and even in the press conference that was just on, Sean Spicer was saying that this was important to the president as well. Again, through an executive order, he had a hiring freeze in the executive branch, of which he is the leader. No legislation is needed for that, but as of now, the federal government in non-security related positions is not hiring.
All right, big issue obviously during the campaign, especially when you look at those Rust Belt states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and so forth, was manufacturing. And already today, the president met with the manufacturing leaders. To you, signals what?
I think it signals that he's willing to listen. And what's even more encouraging to me is not only did he meet with one side of the table, the manufacturing CEOs, this afternoon he's meeting with union executives. So he's listening to different opinions, and he will hopefully formulate some legislation to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Now, again, this is not something that will happen overnight, but I think he can sit with both sides of this argument here and say, if we can get some tax reform planned passed, we can get some regulatory relief, maybe it'll create a better environment to bring those jobs back to this country.
Yeah, I think clearly if he's able to restore some of those manufacturing jobs in those key states, it's going to be a big, battle, a big victory, obviously, for people whose jobs depend on it, but also politically, that could change the landscape here. So we're going to have to pay attention to this.
Yeah, it will be an interesting couple of months. The manufacturing base is very important to this country, and if they can create a better environment to nurture that, I think everybody wins.
All right, something to pay attention to. Steve
Sure.
Budin, as always, I appreciate your time. All right, thank you. We'll be right back.